Okay, next we have diction. Diction is language, the language in the play. Now, language can be presented in different ways in a play. You can have verse, as with Shakespeare, or prose, or plays can be written in vernacular, which is the common language of a people, what they speak. We will see that as we look at the plays during the Middle Ages. But let's consider that the language in the play is not necessarily the way the common people speak at the time. Shakespeare wrote plays in verse, but of course, 17th century Londoners did not speak that way. No one spoke that way. That's what is called heightened text. Similarly, the language of the Greeks is also somewhat heightened. Um, but it's all about language and how it is used, diction. Next, we have music. Now, when we talk about music in a play, usually it is not music as we think of music, melody and lyrics and song. Usually, music has to do with the musicality of the language and how language is presented to us. Um, and we have to consider the way characters speak. Um, in using language, for example, in making a simple statement, I love warm weather. Now, finding the word in the sentence that gives that sentence meaning, in other words, identifying the operative word, kind of creates a musicality. I love warm weather. I love warm weather. All of a sudden, the sentence is about me, the speaker. I love warm weather. It's my experiencing of the weather. I love warm weather. Definite. It's all about that specific thing. That speaks to the musicality of the language. Also, you have to consider things like dialect, um, the influence of the region from which the characters come. When we talk about dialect, we have to talk about dialect in South Carolina, how different and subtle differences, but definite differences we hear when we listen to people from Sumter versus people from Lake City. You drive 40 miles, and all of a sudden the dialect changes. Just like people from Charleston don't talk like people from the upstate, and people from the coast down around Myrtle Beach, Murrells Inlet, down there, talk differently from people in, say, Orangeburg. These subtle differences contribute to a musicality of language. Next, we have spectacle. Spectacle is the extra that which heightens the action of the play. Spectacle can be moving scenery. It can be costume. It can be movement in general. Choreographed movement can be considered spectacle. And spectacle has been a part of theater from the very beginning. We're looking at the 5th century BC as our starting point, and during that time, spectacle was very much a part of the action of a play. And we will see very specific examples of spectacle. Nowadays, spectacle is moving lights and moving stages and everything that goes, pyrotechnics. It's all of it contributes to the overall impact and power of the production. Now, we want to talk about form in drama. When we talk about form nowadays, we are considering all different types of plays, tragedy, comedy, drama, tragicomedy, melodrama, farce, all of these different types of theater. But for our purposes right now, let's consider that there are only two: tragedy and drama. Tragedy and drama. Okay? Oh, no. Tragedy and comedy. Tragedy and comedy. I make that, it always falls out of my mouth like that. I don't know why. Tragedy and comedy. From these two, we get everything else. Tragedy becomes drama, becomes melodrama, becomes naturalism, all of that. Comedy takes us to commedia. It takes us to the comedies of Shakespeare. It takes us to Restoration comedy and what we know now as comedy. So tragedy and comedy, two forms, tragedy, comedy. Okay, style in drama is something different. Style is influenced by the period of the theater, the creation of theater. Consider that, well, for example, a style of comedy is commedia dell'arte. That's a style of comedy. Extremely popular, extremely influential. Restoration comedy. This is a style of comedy. So we see that the different periods influence the content and the quality of the form, and it becomes a style. Okay, thank you very much today. That brings us to the end of chapter 3. For some of you, I will see you on Thursday. I will be posting lectures on Thursday as well. Yes? Okay, but for the rest of the day, enjoy it and stay well.